First and foremost, it's to read. I mean, it's to what do you enjoy reading? As journalists, we're probably among the heaviest news consumers out there. And I think that that's how, particularly when we see a number of smaller publications, how do you find those publications? Well, you have to have a connection to them. And of course, reading them and being totally familiar with their reporters, their big stories, their less successful stories. I mean, that's going to be what ultimately helps you get the job. So I think it's very, very important that, you go out there and sort of report your way to a job, figuring out, what are the publications, find out what the publications, it's very easy using LinkedIn to see where reporters who you admire worked before their current gigs. And I think when I look at this to research candidates, I'm always surprised there are a lot of publications I haven't even heard of, but they're truly excellent. And so that's the obvious first step. There are job search boards and lists. Media Bistro, the Online News and the Online News Association have them. Many of you are probably familiar with them. I think journalism schools, I mean, a nice Google search can pull up a whole list of those. In my experience, they sort of lag the available openings. So for the sort of jobs that are most interesting, most competitive, they're usually filled by the person hiring going back to a pool of candidates they already know. So I'm a little down on job boards as a good first step. I think you have to be more proactive, but it might also be helpful in just seeing the types of publications that are hiring. Conferences, I think, depending on one's flexibility, I mean, there are so many different events, many of them hosted by, news groups, press clubs, investigative journalism groups. They're a great chance to meet reporters and editors. And, I think a common theme here, which I'll come back to again and again, is obvious, but I think important, which is to really show the initiative. Because I think if in part of your hire or applying for a job, you're sort of acting as the type of reporter that person's going to want to hire, and that you're seeking them out, following them up, being proactive, that's what's going to land you the job. So finding ways to meet editors in person is great. I'll come back to internships in a sec. I think alumni networks is a great, another really helpful tool. A lot of colleges have them. And again, I found that we actually created a mentorship program at the Crimson between current students and alums in journalism, and we modeled that after others out there. So you might be surprised to just, probably haven't pulled it up in a while, but if you dig back and see if your college or any other institutions you've been affiliated with have databases that you can look into. Let's see, I'm sorry that these repeated themselves, but I will come back to internships because, historically in the media business, that they've been a wonderful way to get one's foot in the door. And I think that's really, really important. And, there are programs that are very well established, like the journals, the New York Times, Bloomberg, Reuters. And I think that while they've sort of pared them down in years, many are still active and they're still looking for candidates and increasingly candidates of all backgrounds. You don't have to be, right out of college or right out of grad school. So unfortunately, there isn't a sort of comprehensive list of all these intern programs. So again, the technique I think works best for people is saying, I'd really love to work at Politico, and finding a contact there and inquiring about an intern program and whether they have one. I think particularly sort of younger publications are hiring interns throughout the year as well. So it might not even be a summer intern, but I wouldn't, for those of you who may wonder, I'd say I don't want an internship, I'm looking for a full-time job. In this industry, I've found they're really the way to get in, and once you're there and performing well, the rest is easy. So I highly recommend them.